right? It's 2023, not 1723. The driver's not calling Mrs. Fezziwig from a Charles Dickens novel.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We're gonna have the opportunity to talk to Stuart Chant. Now, Stuart and I have known each other for, over 4 years, and he is brilliant at what he does. So I'm gonna pass it on to him to give a little bit of information about his background so that you can see just how relevant his experience is to our phone call today. Stuart, thank you so much for joining us, and give us a little bit of an introduction if you would.
Thank you, Seth. I will. I should say I am English, but confusingly, I live in California, and I've lived in the US for about 30 years now. So my job, I'm a consultant. I work with frontline sales teams and sales managers and figure out what are the salespeople saying, how are they saying it, could they say it even better? And then we really dig into the human behavior that's going on behind an interaction or a call. And our job is to figure out how do we make that interaction the best it can be. So I work with tons of different sales teams all around the world, just helping them to be the best they can.
Stuart's literally listened to thousands of phone calls across hundreds of companies over the years. So the insight he brings isn't just from driver recruiting. I mean, it's sales forces across the country. So really a pleasure to have him on, to learn from him, to talk with him. So what we're gonna do in typical fashion is we've got a call queued up and ready to go, and I'll hit play and we'll be pausing the call as we go along and just sharing ideas and thoughts. So without further ado, Stuart, I'm gonna go ahead and hit play and we'll go from there. Sound good?
Fantastic. Thanks.
All right.
Good morning, Big Old Truckin' Recruiting. This is Joan. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
Hello, my name's Jack Smart.
All right. So this is a short call. I'll give you a heads up. And so we're going to be pausing it a good bit to really break it down line by line. So right off the bat, Stuart, what are your thoughts on the introduction there? What are your thoughts with the way the recruiter introduced herself?
To me, it introduces formal language that somehow makes it less casual, right? It's 2023, not 1723. The driver's not calling Mrs. Fezziwig from a Charles Dickens novel. She's not speaking to an innkeeper. Good morrow, my fine fellow. Bring me a flagon of ale and fresh horses for the men. No one speaks like that, right?
That's right. So I am a little surprised to hear you say that, though, Stuart. With your English background, it tends to be more formal. But so that's interesting coming from you. And so one thing as we continue to listen in, though, is we've often talked about on this show mirroring and matching, right? So based on adjusting our approach based on the individual we're talking with. So I'll be interested to hear from the driver's perspective if he reciprocates that same formality, because that may change things as we go along. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think we should listen to it as well. I mean, who do I have the pleasure of speaking with gets Joan a name, but it also gets the formality, right, that you don't want. So
right.
Yeah, let's listen on.
Yeah, let's keep going.
You doing all right?
Hey, Mr. Smart. I'm doing good. You doing all right?
I'm doing all right. I got a thing to
How can I help you today?
I seen an ad pop up with this policy about your driving opportunities and what y'all offer. I just need to know more about what it says, though.
Do you mind telling me where you live, what city and state?
Okay, so I'm going to pause it there because right away I hear an opportunity, Stuart, with this phone call. But once again, we'll go back to the formality thing real fast because she referred to him as Mr. and then used his last name. So the formality continues where the driver's not using the same formality, right? What did you hear in that little section there?
Yeah, I think what happened when she said, who do I have the pleasure of speaking with? It did introduce formality. So he then says, hello, my name is Jack Smart. And I mean, he is very friendly, very casual, very open, but he did say Jack's smart. And then he adds, you're doing all right. So he's obviously a friendly guy. But then she has that choice, right? She says, Mr. Smart. Now, he said his name was Jack Smart. Why not go with, hey, Jack, how you doing? Right. But she doesn't.
No, I would agree. Now, listening to the individual's voice, it's quite possible that she is in the South, right? A little bit of a Southern accent possibly there. And so that's built into the culture a little bit, right? But once again, I think it has to be taken into consideration, the mirroring and matching, which is the individual she's speaking with doesn't seem to also have that same tone, right? A little bit different. Go ahead. Did you have more thoughts on that?
I just think Mr. Smart makes it official and it creates distance. And I don't think that's what Joan wants. She used her first name, right?
Right.
This is Joan. So is it subservience? Is it respect? I don't know. I don't know why she does that. But I think using Mr. Smart makes it harder for Joan to make a good connection.
Yep. Good. Thanks for pointing that out. The other opportunity in that small clip that I heard, at least, is the driver indicates that he saw something online that caught his interest. And so he's telling the recruiter this, and the recruiter's response isn't, oh, tell me more about what you saw that interested you. It was, well, tell me where you live.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a missed opportunity as well to really connect with the driver. Did you hear something similar there? I mean, how would you have handled that maybe differently to make sure that connection's really happening with the driver?
Yes, Jack, as you say, I saw an ad pop up online, calling the sea, right? Regular stuff, right? Pretty casual again. And she says, do you mind telling me where you live? It's an interesting way for a recruiter to start a question. Do you mind telling me? It's like, again, is that subservience or weakness? Well, it's not strong and direct. And then she asks for a city, or give me the city and state, which is strong, very official, but not friendly. So why not just use direct language and just ask for what she wants and say, where do you live, Jack?
Yeah. No, I agree. Now, I will say a little bit of this is refreshing to a degree, right? Because I think there's learning opportunities. We've heard many calls and we've listened to some of these together where it's not even friendly, right? It's borderline rude or just brash. So she's swung too far the other direction of maybe overly, not even friendly, but what is it? Formal is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So we'll keep listening and we'll share some additional ideas here. Like I said, pretty short call, and we're almost already halfway through it.
I think on that, Seth, I'll just add, she has a chance to build rapport, right? We're all from somewhere. She can say, oh, that's a lovely part of the world. How long have you lived there, right?
Yeah.
Small amount of time to make a connection.
Love it. Yep, totally agree.
I live in Biloxi, Mississippi. Well, not Biloxi, Goshen, Mississippi.
Oh, that's a good area. Do you have any over-the-road or flatbed experience?
I got 6 years over the road. It's verifiable.
Is any of it flatbed, like hauling single steel coils, steel beams?
No.
Okay. Would you be
All right. So one thing I noticed here, Stuart, that working with you, that I know is driving you crazy, because you and I listen to a lot of calls together, but it's the closed-ended questions, right? So, hey, do you have experience with this? Have you done this? Just yes, no questions. So how might the recruiter rephrase those questions to just be more conversational and more open-ended?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. She just keeps just inviting no's, right? I mean, you could start with what, tell me or talk to me about, or walk me through the types of driving you've been doing, help me understand the types of hauling, roads, trucking, whatever, right? Anything that would invite words and find out more about it.
I like that. Invite words. Yes. We want the driver to use words, right? It's how we're going to make a connection and ultimately begin to share relevant information. Because we can't share relevant information with someone until we know what they're looking for and what they want and what's motivating them. And we really haven't gotten to those.
Yeah.
All right, we'll keep listening.
Okay with doing training for flatbed. It's 2 weeks out with a trainer, paid $1,100 per week, and then when you got into your truck, you would come in at 61 cents. Would you be okay with doing that? 2 weeks out with a trainer?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got a pet.
All right, so we'll save the end here. So let's break this down a little bit. What did you hear in that section there, Stuart, that I don't know resonated with you?
Call me old-fashioned, but this seems like a perfect place to tell the driver about the job the recruiter is hiring them for. You know, we're looking for drivers who have experience hauling single steel coils and beams. You don't have that, but the good news is we do give you all the training you'd ever need, and it's paid, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But instead of that, she asks you to close any question and tells you about the training, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that question of, is that okay? I don't love that question, right? Something along the lines of, how do you feel about that? What are your thoughts? How do you react to that? To me, you're going to get a better understanding of what the driver's actually thinking, as opposed to just a quick yes or no. Because he was pretty hesitant, right? He was like, I guess, kind of wishy-washy. So let's draw that out and understand what's on his mind.
Yeah. We just don't know why. I just don't understand enough about him, why he's hesitant. I just don't think we know who Jack is or what Jack's looking for.
That's right.
Why did he call? What does he want? I just don't know.
No, I totally agree. So we'll listen now to the end of the conversation. The driver's going to say something that ultimately, makes it so that he's probably not a good fit anyway. Doesn't mean we can't learn things from this phone call that we can apply to other phone calls, but let's listen into the conclusion here.
Well, we have a no pet policy.
Oh, y'all don't allow pets in the truck?
Unfortunately, no, sir, we don't.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
All right, so what do you think about how that call ended, Stuart? Could we have done anything different there?
Well, I'm curious. I desperately wanted to know what kind of a pet it was. Was it a hamster, a snake? Was it a giraffe, a dog? I guess it was a dog, but I don't know. I'd like to know more. I know they have a no pet policy.
Yeah.
That's good. You don't allow pets on the truck. No, sir, we don't. It's very right. No, I was like, where did the sir come from? It was Mr. Smart. Well, now it's sir. So again, official, shutting him down.
Yeah. Yeah, and if we're going to end the phone call, which it sounds like he may not be a good fit because he cares a lot about his pet. He can't bring the pet along with him, at least while he's training. Well, I guess in general, right? Because they don't have a pet policy. But that might change in the future, right? So I at least want to leave the door open to say, hey, you know what? Currently, we actually don't. We don't allow pets on the truck. However, that could always change, right? We're always reevaluating how we do things. Would it be okay if I at least kept your name on file here and followed up with you in the future if that changes? That way, it leaves the door open to future conversations instead of, I don't know. I felt like it just didn't end well.
I think so. I mean, I think you have recruiters have a small amount of time to make a connection. And so when the driver gets off the phone, I always want them to feel like that was a really good call. That's a really nice company. I could work there, and hopefully both people know more about each other. But yeah, that one was the friendliest somehow. It was formal.
Right. So, Stuart, you do a lot of coaching with sales reps across the country. Listening to this short phone call, you know that if you give somebody 10 things to work on, it's just too many and they can't focus on 10 things all at once. So if you had to narrow it down to maybe the one, possibly two things for this particular recruiter to work on, what would that be?
I think it's a really good question, Seth. I think the call should start with, hi, thanks for calling. I'll do it. Thanks for calling Big Old Trucking. This is Joan. How can I help you today? I think how can I help you gets to motivation. I think it's a better way to start the call. It gets you something. And then the driver says, "Oh, I saw an ad pop up," and she should give an assurance of help. I can definitely help with that. Again, my name is Joan. What's yours? Oh, my name's Jack. Right?
Yeah.
I would do that. Just friendly, nice greeting, assurance of help, name exchange. That's what I would do.
Love it. Love it. So any other thoughts you wanted to make sure that you shared, Stuart, as you think about this phone call? And this isn't the only call you've listened to, right? You've listened to dozens, if not hundreds, of calls between recruiters and drivers. Any other thoughts come to mind of something you'd love to share with this audience on what to focus on?
Well, think about the questions you ask. Think about, if you're a recruiter, what do you need to know? What do you need to find out? And what's the best question for asking that way? I think, again, walk me through, talk to me about, help me understand, clarify for me, explain to me, describe for me. All those things are going to get you lots of words in the answers, and you're going to get to know the driver.
Right.
So,
and so what's the benefit? You mentioned, and I chuckled before about the lots of words, but what's the benefit of having the other person use lots of words?
Well, you'll have a good understanding of where they're coming from, right?
Yeah.
We can speak 150 words a minute. We can think 1,200, right? So when the recruiter asks them a question, they're going to select a bunch of words and give a bunch of words in an answer, and she's going to learn a lot of stuff. And she could also, she could say something like, "Well, what else? Tell me more." And the driver will keep talking. There's ways, she could just go, and he'll keep going. There's just ways we can keep people talking and find out so much, so that instead of her having to be the bad guy at the end of that call, she could have found out halfway through, "Hey, what's important to you this time?" "Well, I've got a pet. My sister died and she didn't have anyone, and I took a dog, and the dog's really important to me, and I had to bring it with me." And she could have said, "Oh, I'm sorry, that's a really nice thing he did, but we have a no pet policy." Now it's his fault, not the trucking company's fault, right? So just finding out more would just be useful.
Right. No, perfect. Thanks, Stuart, for sharing your wisdom and your advice with us. Pick one or two things, right? Listen in on your phone calls. Do it as a group, do it as an individual, do it with your manager, whatever it takes. But there's so many of these little adjustments in your phone calls that will make a huge difference. And that's all we're going for. So we appreciate you all jumping on and joining us, and we hope to see you again. Thank you so much.